Hi, I'm Lorien, and I have some wonderful positive things to say about my family's work with Michele. Of note is her methodology, and I also work in the field of human behavior. And from our first conversation, it was clear to me that her methodology, her understanding of human behavior aligned not only with my own professional work and philosophy, but also with the needs of our family at that time. She supported us through a pretty challenging time in life, and the strategies and the way she works is very centered on goals and action. She works to decipher the root issue through the use of hypnotherapy, which was extremely effective in our situation. And from there, she takes strategies and works through the issue with the client and produces a meditation. And the tools she comes up with are concrete, based on the individual's needs, and every session is supported by follow-up on how those strategies have worked or not worked, or what new challenges have surfaced. So since February, we've been working with Michele, specifically my daughter, who's an adolescent girl, working through anxiety and panic disorders. And just listening to Michele speak has now become a trigger for her to self-soothe and to calm and to work through the issue. So having Michele's voice available to her at all times has been absolutely critical as part of the process. She produces an individualized audio recording that supports the work they do in session, and it just carries through the whole week between sessions. She's also been extremely supportive of me as a parent, working with my daughter through the issues and how to be a parent of an adolescent, just in general, which is hard, and kind of helping me understand my role in her therapeutic process also. And since February, we've adjusted the framework for service, which is also amazing about the way Michele operates. She, like with everything she does, is very focused on the need of the actual client. It's not a pre-programmed design. It's based around what the client needs in any given day, in any given moment, which ebbs and flows with life. So it's a unique therapy experience, and it's been an absolute lifesaver for our family, for my daughter specifically. So prior to the therapeutic work with Michele, my daughter had experienced severe panic attacks across multiple scenarios. It started as a performance issue that manifested over the years since COVID, when she was 10, and coming back from that, debilitating panic. And towards February of this past year, the anxiety associated with the panic then became generalized. And she was basically living in a state of anxiety at all times, not just in those specific triggering situations that were performance based. She basically lived in a state of being anxious about having panic all day, every day. And so, being a person who has generalized anxiety as well, I understood very well what she was going through and knew to seek treatment. Michele literally manifested to me that very day through a Facebook group that we're both in. It was literally a miracle that she just appeared. When I reached out to her and said, "Do you work with adolescents?" And she and I had a lengthy conversation about what would make the most sense for my daughter, and that was always the center of it. At this time, about 7 months later, after this work with Michele, my daughter, on a daily basis, expresses pride in herself for navigating what she now understands to be a basic function of her nervous system. Michele has taught her how her brain works and how to use different verbal cues and thought cues and physical sensation cues to either sit with the feelings, rationalize the feelings, or confront the feelings, depending on what is most important in that moment and the level of the anxiety in that moment. Yesterday was the first day of school, and she expressed pride in herself that she was with the anxiety and she was fine. And it is that you can be anxious and you can have anxiety, and it doesn't mean everything else in the world has to be awful. And that is probably the biggest takeaway she's gained from 6 months of work with Michele. I think just on a almost more of a personal level, Michele is a person who immediately builds rapport and finds a place of trust and collaboration from the very first conversation, which is partly why I think her process works so well. Is her demeanor, her understanding is so sincere and so client focused and thoughtful that the work doesn't take as long as you might think in a more traditional therapeutic model that involves more of that psychotherapy view, right? So as a professional, I see her methodology being rooted more about how to control your thoughts and behaviors. And she just gets right in there, and her personality allows for that.